Face Islam, a program designed to help you and I better understand what's really going on with Islam for Muslims everywhere. In this episode, I want to talk about a word, minaret. And what is that? Is it something important? Why are they being banned? And what's up with this story? Well, first and foremost, we know that in Switzerland, for instance, there was a big hoopla about this subject, to ban any further construction of a minaret. And it reached a level that not only the people there in Switzerland, but around the world were arguing and debating about whether or not this ban should be in place and what the effect would have on the Muslim population there, as well as the non-Muslim population, and really all around the world. How do we look at that? Because one of the issues was, if we start banning something in religion, then what's to stop more bans on other things? And then if it's one religion today, could be all religions tomorrow. So this is how basically the whole world got involved in the subject of the ban on the minarets. But what is a minaret anyway, and how do we understand the importance, or is it important in Islam? And we find that out of the 1.5 billion Muslims in the world today, we all identify the location of a mosque or masjid based on this tower. It could be a single tower, it could be several of these towers that we call minarets. And along the way, over the years, it's become a symbol of more than just a place to pray, but also a symbol of the establishment of Islam at that place. And this may or may not be one of the reasons why a non-Muslim would be concerned, because they'd be afraid, okay, if you showing this kind of symbol here, what are you going to do next? And in a way, we'd have to look at the Muslims to place some of that blame. One of the biggest problems that we find is that the Muslims of the last century and even up to today have not really put enough effort into getting the true message of real Islam into the minds and hearts of the people. Even amongst Muslims themselves, there are those who are arguing about whether or not this is an important issue. Some even opting to vote against the minaret. The minaret itself is not obligatory in Islam. We don't have to have it. It isn't something that makes or breaks our worship. If we have a masjid that doesn't have a minaret, it's just as much worship in there as it is anywhere else. But once we've erected something that identifies our place of worship, then what's to say that you remove that the people wouldn't want to remove something else? And so that's why it's important for us, I believe, to communicate the message a little bit better and let people understand that this is something, a symbol of our place to worship. It doesn't imply anything more than that. It's not saying that, Muslims are about to take over or anything. It's just our place where we worship. Now, some of the minarets, by the way, are very beautiful. The tile work and the colors and the styles are actually an attraction in some ways, and in some countries, even some non-Muslim countries, they view the minarets as an attraction for tourists to come and look and see what's going on. And either way you look at it, the minaret is something that is an icon, and it does equate to Islam in the sense that we know, hey, there must be some Muslims around. But as far as worship itself, no, it doesn't. Muslims can worship any place, any time that they like, with very few exceptions, and we're not limited to only going into a special sanctuary or temple for our worship. And I want to emphasize that while we definitely would like to defend this simply because it's a symbol that represents a place for us to worship, At the same time, I don't want us to take the position that we have to be ready to go to war or fight or go crazy or hurt anybody over it. I think education is the answer here more than anything else. First, on our side, let's find out what are minarets really and what is the impact of this, and then talk to the communities, Muslims and non-Muslims, and see if we can reach an agreement on what's going on with that. In some cases, it may be an obstruction. If it was too tall, for instance, in an area where maybe airplanes are flying over, or if it's too tall in an area where it's blocking signals from radio transmission, something like that, okay. But at the same time, it is something that, again, represents the place where Muslims go to worship. So I think that a balance needs to be struck. Now, in the case where we know that it's just an excuse to take things to another level, in other words, let's ban the minaret today, tomorrow we'll ban the whole mosque, and then finally we're going to stop people from worshiping Allah at all. Okay, in this case, we got to pull back and we got to say, all right, guys, that's too much. That's too much. And what's already existing is one subject, and so far nobody's banned that and said we have to tear them down. But when you're doing new construction, if they said we don't want it there, you need a special kind of permit, and they make it impossible to get the permit. Okay, these are things that can be taken into courts and discussed with that. But let's keep a level head and remember that the minaret isn't what we worship. It's Allah that we focus on in our ibadah. Insha'Allah. Face Islam.